All right, we're ready to start.
All right. Thank you, Haley, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Really excited to be here with you. Hope you're excited about coming to ASU here pretty soon. It's going to be pretty soon. We'll be starting the spring semester. So, wanted to get you a little more information. If this is your first time with us, welcome. If you're coming back from a previous session, love to see you again and hope you join us for other future sessions. Today's focus is going to be on housing. And so we really hope that you ask any questions you have, and we'll do our best to answer those questions for you. As we jump into it here today, we're going to first introduce our team from the International Students and Scholars Center, the ISSC, and a few of our services, and then we'll go a little more deeper into housing as well as just some general living in the U.S. policies, or not policies, but recommendations, I guess is the thing. All right, here's a lovely picture of our team out front of our building, the Student Services building on the Tempe campus. So, team, we're all smiles because we're all ready to help you. We are located in the Tempe campus. We're located in the Student Services building. We're here to support. We have students from over 158 different countries. You may have seen in the news recently. If not, we can share with you. ASU once again is number one, the number one public university for hosting international students, and we love the knowledge and skills and diversity that you bring to our campus and help making the education that much better. A few ways to contact us. You can reach out to us by email, issc@asu.edu. We also have a phone number here. We do virtual and in-person advising to meet your needs and your time and things of that nature. Again, and then on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll also see a little bit more about, again, our contact information for the Tempe campus location, things of that nature. As well as if you're under another visa category other than F1, we do have a separate location right next door on the Tempe campus at Discovery Hall. If you're not on the Tempe campus, no problem. We can meet you at any of the other campuses here in the Phoenix area, downtown Phoenix campus, the Polytechnic, and the West campus. We have offices on all these locations. As you see here on the downtown campus, we're there every Monday in person. On the West Valley campus, we are there every Tuesday. Polytechnic, we are there Monday through Thursday. But that doesn't mean we're not available for you. Again, email, phone call, all of the above, virtual advising, in person advising, all available. Please use this as a great resource for you. A few important reminders here. The last day that I-20s can be issued outside for students outside of the U.S. So if you don't have your I-20 yet, it's coming up here in less than a month. That's December 12th. Please work with your admissions rep to make sure you have everything in so they can issue your I-20. Once you physically arrive to the United States, you will need to complete a SEVIS check-in. We'll have that added here in the next probably month or so to your My ASU. You'll see that pop up. You'll need to complete that by the first day of classes, January 12th. You'll also need to submit your measles, mumps, and rubella immunization, your MMR, through your My Health portal before the start of classes. Otherwise, that will result in a hold blocking registration. You can pay your enrollment deposit through your My ASU, through your finance tab. You can pay that by December 1st. And then, of course, make sure you register for classes as soon as possible. Work with your advising team to get yourself registered for classes, as that is one of the key components of maintaining your status as an international student. All right, with
Oh,
that, then we're going to jump a little deeper into housing. So, Haley.
all right. So, our housing team, unfortunately was unable to join us today because of a big event. They didn't think there was going to take as much of their time. But we are here to help share the information that they provided for us and plus some extra tips. Now, while we're doing this presentation, please feel free to ask questions in the chat. But again, understand that we are not the housing officials, but we will provide you with their email and contact information. If we can't answer your question, I promise you they can. So without further ado, we're going to dive into this. I'm actually going to close my screen because we're going to watch this video. Um, and let's make sure you guys can hear this. Real quick, team, could you hear that?
No.
All right. Well, I'm actually not going to try troubleshooting that. So it's a fun video that just welcomes you to ASU. I'm going to share the link out. Actually, if one of my teammates can grab that from our presentation, I realize my audio is not on sharing for video. We can throw that in the chat and that way you guys can watch it on your own. It's just a cute, fun video of ASU, but we are going to talk about on-campus housing. Oh, maybe.
One of my favorite.
Did you guys hear that at all?
Yeah, it's working now.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay. We'll go back and watch it. Perfect. All right.
One of my favorite things about being a Sun Devil is overall we're a huge community. So it is really easy to make a lot of friends and get to connect with people. There's a lot of culture and pride that we have here at ASU, and it makes our college experience really unique and really fun to be a part of.
I'm able to express myself here. Here at ASU, there's so many opportunities and programs and clubs that I am in myself in to express my own interests here. I absolutely love living on campus. I see my friends almost every single day. I have such a warm community. I can go and chill in the community center and I'll always see someone that I know and I can talk to.
One of the most convenient parts about living with people in your major is that you always have someone to ask about homework and about classes. Since you're in those similar classes in the similar fields, I know I needed help with chemistry, and not only could I get help from my roommates, but also the friends I made from classes and even other people in my hall. It was super easy.
Your CAs are your number one best friend here. Even for those that are out of state, or even those in the state, your CAs are here to make sure that you are welcome to ASU and you have a good time at ASU.
One thing about living on campus is it makes it really easy to go to all of your professors' office hours and your TA's office hours, and being able to just walk to those any time of day I'm not doing anything has made it so that I've been able to get closer to my professors, my TAs, and really get help with the classes that I need.
Getting out of my comfort zone and actually approaching people, which may seem a little bit extroverted, and I'm not that kind of a person, but it has definitely been worth it. Just reaching out has helped a lot for me.
Definitely participate in clubs. I personally have found most of my friends through clubs because we all have this shared interest. And at ASU, there are thousands of clubs you can go to. There is no doubt you'll find something right for you.
I mean, living on campus, away from my parents, away from my hometown, the biggest personal growth is just, I'd say, becoming a person and becoming an independent person. I do my own laundry, I clean my dishes, I clean my dorm room. It's really just pushed me outside of that comfort zone in order to really develop into an actual adult.
Here, I was able to establish an independence I could not get anywhere else. Being yourself, being open, and the people who you will connect with on a deeper level will come to you through that.
There are really cool people out there. There's people that are trying to help you out and want to see you succeed. It's just a matter of finding those people. And trust me, this university is so huge that they're out there for you. So
let loose and go with the flow, because you'll find yourself randomly at Somerset Fest on a random afternoon, and then suddenly you're making friends, you're having a good time, you're getting a free churro. So let loose and just go with the flow.
Be okay with change and be ready, because I changed in ways I didn't expect. I experienced moments of hardship, but not in ways I expected. So kind of just accept the growth and learn from it, and don't be so afraid. You're gonna do great.
welcome to ASU.
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 All right. Well, I hope that made you guys feel like it's exciting to come here. So we are going to move forward. Maybe you're a little inspired to move in on campus, but we're going to talk about on campus and off campus. So a little bit of, we saw on campus some of those benefits, right? But off campus also provide ASU off campus resources. They provide you resources, right? It connects students as well. So there's other programming that helps you engage if you do choose to live off campus. Of course, there are lots of engagement activities and housing if you live on campus. And then, of course, they still try to make sure you build that connection, affinity, build that community while you build a home here. So ASU does try to provide you lots of resources, whether you, again, are living on or off campus. Of course, if you're having any issues with housing litigation, so any kind of legal challenges, they do have resources for you. And I realized I had a pop-up window over this, so my coworker Joelle is going to dive a little bit more into this. Sorry, Joelle. But the
It's
floor is
okay, Haley. It's okay, Haley. Thank you. So, as Haley mentioned, that we do have a plethora of resources available to you all. So you can see here that there's a list with links, and we are sharing those links in the chat through my colleagues. And I really, really, really recommend that you look into these housing guides, the house renter education, because renting an apartment in the US is very different from your home country. There are certain obligations related to contracts and so forth. So these resources help you and guide you to understand what your options are and what are things that you need to look for and so forth. So ASU has put those together for you. Um, as Haley also mentioned, that we do, through housing, they do offer a lot of support for off-campus students. So even if you're not living on campus, there are some open hours. So if you scan this QR code that you see here, it will help you get into a staff room that is via Zoom, where you can actually ask all of these questions that you have as well. So they are available Thursdays from 1:30 to 2:30. They talk about different things like housing assistance and resources, off-campus marketplace housing locating, off-campus housing guide. I know there were a few questions about this. Are these legitimate websites? They have all of these resources for you in one place. They even have activities that they do for students that are living off campus to help you all feel part of the community. There's also renter education videos. And so I really encourage you to check out those Zoom office hours and ask all of your questions directly to one specific individual. Today we're doing an overview, but each of you might have specific questions that pertains to you and your current situation. All right, so for here, you can see on the housing off-campus housing locator, there's also a website that's present here and it was shared in the chat. You can filter different apartments or housing options through based on what are the amenities that they offer in the complex. What campus is it close to? You know, at ASU we have multiple campuses: Polytechnic, West Valley, downtown Tempe. It helps you guide you to know where this place is in proximity to where your studies are. Number of bed and baths. Maybe you are coming here with a family. Maybe you are by yourself or you want a roommate. So you can even search through that. The lease length. Maybe this is something that you want temporary while you figure things out. And you're looking for something that's for 6 months or for a year. So all of these things, you can filter your searches based on that. And this will go to my colleague, KJ.
Hello everyone, KJ here. Just gonna discuss a couple of things here for some of the resources that you should consider when you're thinking about off-campus housing, especially off-campus housing. So there's a concept of cosigner or guarantor that is who's going to be equally responsible for paying the rent. So should you fail to pay the rent, they'll be responsible. So that keep that in mind when you get a guarantor or a cosigner to sign your lease to help you get into that place. The guarantors cannot live in the unit. They are only there to guarantee you that you're going to pay. Renters insurance is required. This is something that a lot of apartment communities make sure that this is when, if something happens in the apartment, the insurance company pays for your damages. Research the area, sign a roommate agreement if you're going to get a roommate in with you. Some apartments will require a co-signer and guarantor. Some don't, so keep that in mind. You get that information once you like the apartment complex. You can ask them that question. Take into account the rent, the utilities, the transportation going back and forth wherever you are to campus and other places, and please make sure that you do not break a lease agreement. If there's any issues, reach out to them and ask them what your options are. Next slide. Some of the resources here, they put a QR codes here. I'm gonna let you guys quickly take them, get into those and see, uh, make sure that you have that information on your, on your computer so they can review it later. So just give you a couple seconds here for the QR codes.
Yeah, and if you guys just want to take a picture of this, but we are going to send this out in an email. So that way, if you don't get everything today, we are going to follow up in a few weeks, sending this out before you would fly here. So before your arrival time in the US, we'll make sure you have this in your email.
Okay, and then there is some more information that we're going to talk about. I'm going to give it back to Haley.
All right, everyone. So those are our slides from housing. We're going to dive into it just a little bit since we come from the ISSC and we understand that sometimes not everything's the same, right? So we will be sending out this link on campus housing. Right now, it looks like the portal is closed today. It was working yesterday. I checked it this morning and it's down. So make sure to go back to this portal maybe in a day or two. But if you are an undergraduate student first semester, you're expected to live on campus. If you are a graduate student, you are not expected to live on campus, but you can. And they have specific locations that you can live on campus. So we named a few right here. So definitely, whether you're undergrad or grad, you can live on campus. If you'd like, you have to go through the portal. Please keep in mind of the deadlines and email them questions if you have any about, where you might want to live, the amenities, and different styles of living on campus. When you are arriving to ASU, you should always go to our admitted arrival page on admissions. That's going to have your registration link for your international welcome event, which you should go to. It's going to have information about when you should arrive. We're going to have airport assistance that week before some of the arrival welcome events. So I think starting on January 7th. And so we want to make sure we're there to help you. But please keep in mind, if you are living on campus, meal plans don't start until January 11th. So you want to think about that in case you want to have some extra money on hand to go get some food, check out some local restaurants. There's plenty of places to eat within walking distance of all of our resident halls. But just keep that in mind so you have that expectation and you understand that when you do arrive, even if you're arriving a little earlier than the meal plans are provided. So again, we're going to be emailing this out so you can have this on your own computer, but this is just some things what you might want to bring actually if you're moving into an on-campus residence hall. There were things that I kind of like didn't think of. I'm trying to think of an example. Like toothpaste, yes, obvious, right? You should probably do that, but apparently you can bring your own trash bags, right? So this is a helpful list for you to learn if you're living on campus, what you need to bring, and go on their website and see what they have, right? So they have a list on the right side that says what not to bring, but those are more of the like dangerous items, or things that are not allowed, like a pet. So no cats or dogs are allowed. It's a joke, but it's not a joke. Okay. So your move-in checklist, again, they're going to email you if you're living on campus, a lot of these resources. But this is just a screenshot of their checklist. Again, when their website is back up and running, hopefully in the next few hours, that they'll have all these links ready for you on their website. And again, we're going to email these out to you so you can make sure you do understand if you're living on campus, what you need to do, the process of checking in, what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's missing, and what you need to provide. Okay, so we're going to switch focus a little bit for off-campus housing. If you are a graduate student, this is going to be probably particularly interesting to you. But of course, if you're an undergrad, this might be interesting in a year or two for you. So we do have a website. It is an official ASU website that helps you connect. Joel went through that where the finder, you can actually find locations, find roommates, all of that information you can get on our off-campus housing website. The house I've rented in right next to Tempe campus, I found on this website. My partner was going to school for a master's program. So I've used this website and the house is great. But there are other resources. You can always go to an ASU housing fair. There's one happening today. There'll be more later. There's a guide as well that kind of helps you make some of those decisions. So do explore through these resources to help you better understand this. This is actually the most up-to-date, by the way, housing guide. I scoured the internet to find a newer one. So the 23 to 24 is the most up-to-date version that is available right now. And they're very similar every year to year, so there's nothing majorly missing. So things to consider when you are choosing to live off campus, if you have that opportunity. We mentioned we're going to repeat some of these things, but we really want to make sure as an international student, those cultural differences of renting here, we say it enough where you understand it. You want to make sure you decide, do you want an apartment? Does it have stairs? Is it a house with parking? Are you just renting one room inside of a house or an apartment? Is it a homestay, condo, right? There's very different styles of living in the US, so you want to make sure you pick what's best for you. And the logistics, right? Is it close to campus? Maybe it's more expensive and really close to campus and you can walk every day, or it's a little further away and it's a lot cheaper and you get a free bus that goes back and forth, right? So you want to look at the transportation, you want to look at how close it is, you want to consider the cost. If you want to buy a car in the US, or maybe you did your undergrad here and you're moving to grad school at ASU and you have a car, you want to see if there's parking. So you do want to make sure you really look through what is available and what's important for you when you're considering renting an apartment or house. KJ is going to
Okay.
take away the budgeting.
Yes. All right. So we want to make sure that we reduce as much of unexpected expenses that can pop up. So we suggest that you do some budgeting before you come in and get into the apartment that you want. Set a price range of affordable rent, like Haley said, close to the campus, away from the campus. There will be additional expenses, including, even though there are some free public transportation, sometimes you have to pay for bus as well, depending on where you are. Move-in costs, move-out costs, things like that. Each property has amenities. Sometimes they charge more if they have a pool, for example, but you're uh, as an ASC student, you can use the STFC pool. So keep those things in mind when you're doing the budgeting. And then we'll go to the next one, please. And then there are going to be options of furnished apartments. Furnished apartments are usually a little bit more in price. The ones I've seen have like a bed and a table and a closet. Those are things, but then you have to figure out how much of the extra rent you're paying and if you can buy it cheaper somewhere else and get a non-furnished apartment. Renter's insurance, we've talked about it in the past. It's a requirement. It's not very expensive, but you can always go online and get some quotes and find out how much it's going to cost you. If you want a pet, there will be additional fees to it. Unfortunately, pets are quite expensive to maintain here in the US. And I do suggest you have emergency fund and keep it somewhere safe, because we have had instances where students have lost their because they put it in their pocket and they were sitting in a bus and it dropped or something. And there will be bills. We are known for our bills. I've been paying bills all my life, so keep bills in mind. Many, many bills come in your way. So all those things you have to keep in mind when you are doing an off-campus housing. The requirements, as we discussed in the past, we need a guarantor, who's going to say that, hey, if the student can't pay, I will pay for the rent. Same thing as a cosigner, or they might require a reference letter from a cosigner if you have a family member. In the US, that is probably the best way to go if you really need one. But that's something you have to figure out with your family and stuff and things. What options you have available? Social security numbers and student visa and permanent resident card. sometimes are required social security number. You may not have it, but you can only get it when you get an on-campus job. A lot of these places around campus understand that international students don't have social security number, so you can you share that with them, and you can, I think, have it replaced with a I-20 or another document, some other documents for your passport that might suffice for the signing of the lease. Proof of income ability is more of an ability to pay rent. I think most of the places around campus, off campus, they know students, international students are paying such high fees they can afford it, but sometimes they might require a higher security deposit, so to compensate for that lack of a paycheck that you're not getting because you're a student. And most of the security deposit, which is basically something that you get back once you leave the place, is going to be about a month and a half of rent. So if you're paying $1,500, then the security deposit might be $2,250, things like that.
And just so you guys know, these are just examples of requirements. It's not it's not for every place that you stay. Just examples of what someone might ask.
That's correct. So pre-lease steps, keep in mind the things that matter to you. Like Haley said, do you have a car? If you have a car and the apartment complex that you want is charging $200 extra for you to park the car, though that might be a deal breaker for you. So those are the things that you have to keep in mind. View all the information from most of the apartment complexes around the ASU will have those details in their website. If they don't, you can always reach out, email somebody, and they'll get back to you right away. Review ASU off-campus housing website. That's probably the best resource for you. And for safety and security, you can always ask the apartment complexes if they participate in the crime-free multi-housing community program. But just to give you a gist of how safe we are as a campus, our biggest problem in ASU is that the stealing of scooters. That's the biggest crime we have. So we have very good ASU PD is on campus. We have more than 5,000 cameras around the campus. So it's a very, very safe environment. And leases, so leases are written agreement and a legal contract. Once you get into that, you cannot get out of it unless the other party agrees that you can. So keep that in mind before you sign a lease. Even if it's it's just one paper, make sure you know what you're signing before. Sometimes they might ask you to do like a intent to sign a lease. You know, those are things that's fine, but just keep in mind you read the fine print before you sign anything. Breaking a lease for any reason can be expensive and damaging. Expensive to the extent, for example, you signed a lease for 1 year, 8 months into it, you want to get out of it. If you break the lease, you leave, you still are liable for that 4 months of rent because even though you're not going to stay there. So keep those things in mind. That's how things work here in the US. If you don't understand something in the lease, there are a lot of legal jargon in there. Please reach out to ASU off-campus housing and ask them, or you can reach out to the legal resource that we shared with you earlier. Do not sign anything that you do not understand or not comfortable with it. And please keep in mind that signing is binding. Once you sign it, you are now liable for it. You, your guarantor, your co-signers, everybody's liable for it. So leases must be in writing. If they're not in writing, somebody tells you, "Hey, send me for $1,500 and come on to my place and stay there." It's a big no-no. That's never gonna work. They can get you thrown out in 2 seconds. They won't even open the door for you. So make sure you sign it before you get into before you think that you have an agreement and you have a place. So you can sign a lease of where you can, some places have the option of you sharing with a roommate and you sign a lease for one bedroom. Sometimes you do it for a whole apartment. All those things are going to be part of the lease. That should be in writing and part of that lease. So make sure that it's in there. The time of tenancy, which means how long are you going to stay there? 6 months, 12 months. That should be in the lease. Monthly rent, exact amount, and penalties associated with it should be in these penalties. Could be something like if you pay rent late, this is how much it is going to jump to. Those penalties are binding as rent itself. Keep that in mind. Move-in costs, if they're giving you any break on that, if it's fundable or not. We're talking about like Sometimes they will, there's two types of things that I am aware of. Security deposit, like we talked about earlier, a month and a half. Sometimes they would say, okay, we just 1.5 months is security deposit, and then there's an additional $200 that you have to pay, which you don't get back. Keep those things in mind. Application fees, they can become expensive. They are usually non-refundable. This is where the apartment complexes or the landlords are trying to establish if they want to rent you the place or not. Like I said, first month rent. Oh yeah. So with the security deposit, you may have to pay the first month rent. Rent is usually always due before you start getting in. So before you come in, you'll pay for the 1 month rent, and then you'll start paying subsequently for the rent. So technically, the last month is free, but not really. Utility information and costs, they're just going to be just basic utilities are electricity, water, and some others, but just make sure what they're paying for and what you are responsible for. Lease termination information should be in the lease, which tells you what happens if you break the lease. Usually it's going to be you're still liable for the rest of the rent amount, but sometimes they might give you a break depending on your situation, depending on the who you're signing the lease with.
Okay, so I know that might sound scary, but we want to give all that information so you're actually prepared. And then once you start moving in, our biggest suggestion is not to just move in right away and bring your stuff in the moment you walk in, but walk through the apartment or house that you're renting, check if everything's working, turn on all the lights, turn on the water, flush the toilet. And you can, some residents, not Airbnbs, geez, apartments, will have a resident condition form. So they will have like a checklist. A lot of apartments, when they have, 200 different apartments they can rent out, they just have a checklist you run through and you check off. If you do have that, or you can ask for one and they provide it, make sure you get a copy after it's completed, and do that walkthrough. Some places will just give you that piece of paper and you walk through it. Other times they'll have someone walk through it with you. So you want to make sure you inspect it. And then if you find a damage item, maybe there's like a hole in the wall, a small one, hopefully no big ones, or the light doesn't work, take a video of the light not turning on. Take a photograph of a dent in the wall, or the paint peeling or something like that. But if you have photo and video evidence, it makes it very easy. Date it. You can give a copy to your landlord. It's proof that it needs to be fixed for you, and you don't have to pay for it when you move out. Of course, Arizona sometimes have some bugs. It's a very dry place, but we do have cockroaches. So a lot of apartments will spray for bugs, and will provide bug pest control. I do know this can be a challenge for some students who are not used to that, and it occasionally happens. Um, it is kind of normal here, and they should take care of it. So make sure you do talk to any apartment, if you're worried about bugs, if they have kind of a policy and that they will come and address it if necessary. And of course, like everything, make sure that you have everything written, and you have a copy of it. KJ mentioned it earlier. If your apartment is furnished, which means it comes with furniture, sometimes like a spoon and fork and knife, not extra, but bare minimum, you can always ask for proof of written copy of the furniture being cleaned, right? If you have a mattress and they're providing it for you, you really want to make sure that's clean, since someone else previously had slept in it. We also mentioned a roommate, like an agreement, a little contract for you and a roommate if you're choosing to live with someone. It's not mandatory, but ASU does, suggest considering one. I know it sounds silly, but write it down, make it formal, make it a little awkward at the beginning, and it makes everything so much easier for the rest of the time. You can make little house rules, maybe like me, I'm early to bed and early to wake up. So maybe there's quiet hours that I don't make, lots of noise in the kitchen at 5 o'clock in the morning when I wake up. And then my roommate wouldn't make noise at, 11 p.m. at night, because that would keep me up. But you do want to make sure that you agree on different things, who's paying what, and maybe different rules. So as a reminder, we're coming to a close. We're going to give you some reminders, so feel free to keep adding questions in the chat. But you want to keep copies of everything. I hope we've expressed that to you. You want to have a printed copy of your lease, your move-in agreements, the conditions, right? Pictures of any damages, videos of anything not working. You want to have copies, receipts of your security deposit. So if you do pay that month's rent, you'd be first and last month's rent when you move in, get a receipt for that. So that way, when you're moving out your last month, you can say, I've already paid it. You guys, I'm not paying rent, or you get to give it back to me, kind of thing. So just make sure you do have everything documented. Keep it in a safe space. And I suggest like all together so you don't lose it. We wanted to put this in here just a little bit on the end. Hope none of you are subletting your apartment. But let's say next summer you want to go home and your apartment is empty and you're looking for someone to fill it in the summer. That doesn't always mean that that is allowed. So please check with your lease agreement, whoever you're leasing from, to see if that is allowed. If you do want to do this, you really want to make sure your roommates are okay with it. You meet this person, because if they damage your apartment while you're gone, you still have to pay for it, right? It's on you, it's your apartment. So please be very cautious of lending out your apartment when you are not there. Okay, so again, this is going to be sent out to you at the beginning of December. So there's going to be lots of links here that you can look into. This is kind of getting into the extra details of Arizona law with our tenant, but it's always good if you're nervous about renting a place. This is a good place to go to learn a little bit more. And it's always good to just, where you decide to rent, to communicate with that location, find out the rules and regulations, and follow those rules. So our office, the ISSC, cannot come in between you and your housing unit. If you are off campus, we can't tell them to, do something or not do something for you. Again, more resources. Just to remember that ASU code of conduct. You are still a student at ASU. You still have to abide by our student code of conduct. There are general rules when you're renting, but the biggest rule is to be a good neighbor and to be a good roommate. So please be conscious of others if you are choosing to live with other people. Okay. So as we wrap up, please know that if you choose to live off campus, even if you are finding the location on the ASU off-campus housing website, ASU does not own those apartments. They are not affiliated with them. We cannot suggest one specific apartment building for you. If you'd like to live on campus, we can help you decide which on-campus location is best for you. But you do need to do your research. You can always ask us questions, keep them coming in the chat. Off-campus housing doesn't have a deadline. On-campus housing does. So you want to make sure that if you really love a place off campus, you get your application in early, because it is first come, first serve. And again, just connect with the people that if you are renting from them, make sure you sign a lease and it's legally binding and you're not just emailing money to someone. And we hope that these tips have helped you make good decisions for where you want to live when you move to Arizona. We mentioned this earlier, so this is just going to go out in the email. So consider that transportation. If you have a bike, scooter, or our bus system in Tempe is actually pretty good. Same with Phoenix, and around all of our ASU campuses. Okay. If you have questions, this does go to our team. So this QR code, feel free to submit questions to us that are kind of general. But if you have any housing questions, we do ask that you email the housing@asu.edu, because any specific housing questions, my team unfortunately cannot answer, but our housing team can, and they really are helpful. So we hope you get to communicate with them. Now, team, are there any questions that we should discuss at large? And of course, if anyone's in the audience and would like to unmute themselves and ask a question, you're more than welcome to.
So I just wanted to do a reminder also that the ASU on-campus housing, if you do elect and you do sign that document, it is also a legally binding document. So let's say you do sign that and then you realize, wait, I don't want to stay on campus. Um, you are still liable to follow on-campus housing, ASU housing's policies regarding that. So please make sure that before you sign any documentation, any documents, that this is really what you want.
And just to piggyback on that, Daniel posted on the chat as well. Please make sure you're not signing multiple leases because every lease is binding on you. So you may end up, if you sign two leases, you may end up having to paying rent on two properties. And obviously, you're not living in two properties. Just keep in mind that in the US, and that's something that I had to learn too when I came to this country, everything that you sign is binding, and everything that if so you're told and just verbally told, that is not binding at all. And we've had some instances where students from different countries dealt with people from their countries that were living in the US thinking that things are going to be the way they are back home. They're not. They got burned. They got because they didn't sign a lease and they just took their word for it because that's how things work back home. That doesn't work here. I mean, if it's in writing, it's binding, and you have a very good, you have guaranteed that you have a place. If it's not, if you haven't signed anything, if it's just verbal, it's probably not happening. To keep that in mind.
Any questions that we saw coming up in the chat that we should address?
Somebody asked, they're studying at Poly, is it feasible to rent in Tempe?
Yeah, so ASU does have a shuttle that goes from all the campuses, right? So Polytechnic to Tempe, to downtown, to West. And it runs very regularly, every 15 minutes during the semester, Monday through Friday, and then I believe every hour on the weekends. So if you choose to live on Tempe, you absolutely can do that. You'll just have to take a shuttle bus, which is what, Daniel, I think I know you take it. It's 45 minutes each way.
Yeah, Megan posted a response as well to that question. Yes, it does. And so you have to take into consideration with the start of your classes, right? How are they going to lead you the class? What are the gaps between your classes? Because you may need to remain out of poly for X amount of time during the day. So you can just think about if you want to get an on-campus job, where you're going to be, your commute back and forth, when your classes are, what days, all of that stuff. So doable, yes. Just keep that in mind of what's feasible for you as far as what are your bigger plans as far as the study, research, connecting to your faculty members, on-campus jobs, activities, things of that nature.
Yeah. And each campus is great. It really is, right? And you can always come to another campus. Even if you're living out at Poly or Tempe, you can go to an event downtown, right? The buses really are great. I use them as well. So we're not just telling you, oh, go use them. A few of us use them pretty regularly.
Yeah, and they have Wi-Fi, so you can actually sit there and do homework.
Or take a nap. That's what I do. All
And
right.
as
Any
I
other?
mentioned, in the chat a little bit as well, there are several campuses also do have graduate housing. If you're a graduate student and just unsure about finding something off campus, I know West Valley campus, Poly, and others do have specific graduate student housing. So feel free to look into that as well to see if it meets your needs. Um, Even if you're a Tempe student and thinking about, oh, I'd rather live at the Poly graduate housing because it seems cheaper and this and that, just check it all out. And there's tons of options.
There is a question in the chat about on-campus housing, if we know when they will get their housing confirmation.
I am not sure. We can try to do a follow-up. If you fill out this QR code over here, um, um, that way I can get your email and follow up with you. But you can also email ASU at housing@asu.edu. But we can look into when that date is. It should be relatively soon. It can't be much into far into December. I don't know, Daniel, if you have a guess on that. Probably not. Well,
I
we can, yeah.
have something to say about that. I also did, so this specific person is asking because they deferred one semester to another.
Yeah.
I also did the same thing. I deferred from fall to spring when I started school, and I was also struggling with the same thing. So it's just gonna take a little bit longer. Keep emailing your advisor and your ASU contact, and make sure that you're on top of things, reading your emails and checking your email consistently, because you might just miss that one specific thing that tells you where you're going or whatnot. I remember I was told that I was going to be in one housing spot, and then when I got here, they told me that I was going to go to a completely different place. So it was a huge mess just because I missed a couple of emails. So definitely keep your eye out on your emails.
That's one of our global peer mentors, by the way, everyone. You all get a mentor. So if you have any questions, they can be helpful, just like Isa was now. Thank you for that. And she's right. You guys really need to email or open all your emails. ASU is probably flooding you with lots of emails, I know. But do make sure you open them and follow the most recent email, right? If someone's giving you an update, make sure you're looking at the most recent email.
There was a question actually, somebody was asking about obtaining their visa. If you do have those types of questions and you are currently going through this process, please reach out to your admissions representative, because they're the ones that right now are working with you to get your I-20s and to get you through that process so that you can apply for your visa to come here.
And with that, you guys can keep asking questions, but so you know, we completed our first general welcome and Q&A last week or the week before. We are now doing our housing one. So in just a few weeks, 2 weeks, if I'm counting correctly, we will have the same general welcome and question and answer. So if you do have those kind of compliance immigration questions, arrival questions, anything like that, if you want to meet your global peer mentors, we'll have breakout rooms. It'll be a little bit more interactive at the end. Please do join us on December 4th. And then we are going to have our health insurance team come on December 16th. Whether you are in the United States already, or if you are not here yet and you want to learn more about health insurance, I strongly suggest it. These are all our pre-arrivals. If you got here, that means you did already sign up for one of these. You will get reminder emails for all of them. I was sneaky and made sure that all of you get these. If you signed up for one, you get a link to all. You don't need to attend them all, but we do hope you do. Um, we are, we do have plenty of time for more questions, but if you don't have any more questions, we do appreciate that you came. Again, we're sorry that our housing team unfortunately was last minute unavailable for you today, but we do hope these resources were really helpful in helping you make the decisions on where you want to live on or off campus. And now you know some of the things that you really need to look for before you sign a lease or sign a housing agreement with ASU.
There's
So if you
another.
have, yeah, I was gonna say if there's another question, let's keep answering them. I can't see the chat, by the way, anyone. So if you're on my team, feel free to call them out.
Okay. They're asking, what are the best websites to see honest reviews about apartments? And to this, I have to say, um, I have some insight on this. Just go to go to the social medias, like go to Reddit, go to Facebook, and go check out the housing groups at ASU, and you can ask those questions on there, like, hey everyone, I saw X website. Is this a reliable resource? Does anybody have any experience with it? And you're gonna get a lot of alumni, a lot of other students, current students, or other people who are currently using that website. So that might be really helpful. And those Facebook groups are a lot more active than if you go on any specific website and check for the reviews. So just make sure you go and try to find those things are a little bit more hidden and obviously not marketed. So you have to kind of dig in to find those things.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good question. I actually, when I moved to Arizona, I had never lived in the state. I didn't know anyone. And I almost rented from like a slumlord, if you will. Luckily, my partner and I just simply went on the internet and wrote in their name and said, is who is this person? And a lot of stuff came up that that person was not great. So you can always just go on the internet and say, write review, and then the name of the place, and then as Issa mentioned, to go on the different kind of social media platforms, ask questions, search for those names. People love sharing their opinion, so you can always find it. I will say, if a housing location seems way too good to be true, it's a 4 bedroom house with parking and a pool and only costs $400. It's probably a scam. So make sure you keep those realistic kind of perspective. That's why it helps to compare, right? If things are really unrealistic and not the same as all the other places, maybe look more into that before you try signing a lease. Any other questions we should address from the chat?
I want to say that if you're thinking of buying a car when you get here, keep in mind the costs that are associated with it, not just the car itself, but you have to have registration, you have to have insurance. Pretty much anywhere around Tempe, you'll have to pay for parking. Those are all the things that you need to consider. It's not like back home where you can get away with no insurance, no registration, and drive the car. It's a big no-no. I've had students dealing with it with the police, with the courts. It's illegal. So please make sure that you keep that in mind. It's I think it's if you're on Tempe campus, you don't really need a car if you're around campus. Even if you live further away, we have had students take public transportation and even use Uber and Lyft, those car share ride apps. So keep that in mind if you're planning to get a car.
All right. Any other questions we should address from the chat? Nope. If not, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We hope this was helpful. And we did record this. So in December, we'll be sending out also the recordings. But we will be sending out these slides sooner than later. So we hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for my team for joining. I know a few of you hopped in last minute to help read through these slides. So hopefully it's helpful. And we will see you all soon in spring. So thanks for joining.